Hello, hello, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Kristyn. I'm an authorized infinite banking practitioner, and I help Canadian families and business owners find peace in their financial life and live the abundant life that they were born to live by taking back control over their finances and redirecting more money back into their pockets. So, if you caught last week's episode, I spoke about the hardships that my family and I went through in our early years and how different our life would be if we had learned about the infinite banking concept way back then before we got married. So, I believe that mistakes are the greatest teaching tool there is, and smart people learn from the mistakes of other people so they don't have to make it themselves. So, today I want to expand on some of the things that I wish I knew back then so that you can learn them too. Here's my top 5 things that I wish I knew 25 years ago that would have saved me a lot of stress and anxiety and just feeling unrest with our financial situation. So, the first thing I wish I had known was that the system is designed to keep you broke, tired, sick, stuck in a cycle of debt and financial slavery. What do I mean by that? We're all taught that you're supposed to do well in school, get a good career, make some money, keep a good credit score, save in your RRSPs, and then you save on taxes. But who does all of that benefit? I want you to think about why the government would give us solutions to the tax problems that they've created. They've given us all of these high taxes, and then they've given us solutions so that we can pay less taxes. Who is that really benefiting? I'll go into that in a whole separate episode. I'll talk about the registered accounts. But I just want you to start thinking about why we do the things that we do. Think about it. You're supposed to open a bank account in a bank when you're very young, parents and grandparents, aunts, uncles. You're supposed to save money into a child's education fund. And so you establish this credit with the bank. But again, like who is that benefiting? Who does it benefit when you have to borrow from a bank? I want you to question right down to the fundamentals of how you're making your money. When you're working for someone else, who is ultimately winning there? Who sees your paycheck before you do? You negotiate this great salary, and who gets to see your paycheck before you even touch it? The CRA takes their cut before it even hits your bank account. Then it's in the bank account and being circulated and in that inflationary system, earning the bank more and more money off of your deposit that you have not even withdrawn yet. Your hard work is punished by more taxes. Inflation is eroding your income. Homeownership is out of reach increasingly every year. And then when you start racking up credit card debts, the banks start increasing your limits. Have you ever noticed that? Why would they do that? It's not because they're trying to help you out. It's because they know that you are able to make those payments. They know that you are going to prioritize making those payments. And so they're giving you extra credit so that they can make more money off of you, getting you into a deeper and deeper hole, and you're stuck further into that cycle of debt. Once your credit card gets too high, have you ever noticed they start calling, asking if you want to refinance your loans or refinance everything into a new mortgage? Again, who's winning there? It's not you in the long term. Your registered accounts, they're sold as tax savings, but they're really only kicking the tax can down the road. So you are paying more taxes later on than what you're saving right now. I'm not saying all of these things are major problems, but I just want you to start thinking about the way that the system works and who all of these things are really benefiting. You're taught to save in investments and mutual funds. And who is winning in that situation? When your bank is selling you these products, they're charging you heavy fees that you probably don't even see and you're not aware of. You need to understand how you're paying for these products and how they're making money. We live on that fractional reserve system. I went into this in a little bit more detail in a previous video. Low interest rates, when they are dropped by the central bank, they stimulate spending. When you have low interest rates, you're going to spend more. What happens when you spend more? That money gets deposited into that merchant's bank account. What happens when money is in a bank account? It then gets loaned back out in multiples, right? And so the more that we start digging into what's happening with our money, the more that we're seeing that it's just fleeting and going away from us. So, bottom line, you need to understand how money works, you need to understand how inflation works, and you need to learn how taxes work. You should not be paying more than you're legally obligated to pay. And you can't play the game if you don't know the rules. So you need to get educated, learn how to minimize your taxes legally, of course. I'm not saying evade taxes by any means, but don't pay more than you're legally obligated to. Second thing I wish I had understood way back then is that your thoughts shift your reality. And before you close this video, I'm not talking about in a new age, like woo kind of way, but your mind is a powerful tool. In our family, when my husband was joking that we were puh because we were too poor to afford the whole word poor, we ingrained that in our identity. That was how we thought of ourselves. All we saw was what we couldn't afford, how difficult it was, how we could not pay this bill that came up, how any little emergency was going to be this catastrophic event. And that's what we were focused on. We lived in a constant state of we lived in a constant state of scarcity, and we focused only on what we didn't have. We used to talk negatively about money all the time. We complained about how much we didn't have. We complained about how broke we were. We were envious of people who could afford more than we could. And our focus was on what we didn't have. It took time to adjust our mindsets, but eventually we started practicing gratitude. And now this is a daily exercise that our family practices. We actually have a great big grateful board, we call it, in our kitchen. A whole wall is a chalkboard, and we write our blessings. We ask our guests to write their blessings when they come in. And it's just a great way that we can track them and see all the things that we're thankful for through the year. And then every New Year's, we wipe it clean and we start fresh again. I also start every day with a gratitude journal. So I always start with 3 blessings from the previous day. And then I ask God to bless what I'm planning out for this day and to help me, give me wisdom on how to guide me and what I'm doing today. We no longer focus on our fears. We don't focus on what we don't have. We don't focus on what we're afraid is going to happen. We set goals, we celebrate wins, and we find gratitude even in the hard times. So I want you to ask yourself, how do you talk and think about money? Is it through the lens of I can't, I wish I could? Or is it through the lens of how can I do that? Or I'm choosing not to do that because it doesn't align with my goals. We're talking about a fixed mindset, a closed mindset, a scarcity mindset versus an open, abundant growth mindset. I'm very careful when I talk with clients about budgeting because I don't want them to be in that scarcity mindset of where they're looking at what they can't afford. When you write out your expenses, it's a great exercise. You need to know where your money's going. But when we do it more as a cash flow exercise, because we want to see the potential for what you could be doing and not telling you how much you have to spend and how much you have to cut back. We're looking at cash flow. We're going to see how we can manage that better. And we're going to show you how you can get to what you want. Third thing that I wish we had known back then was that financial freedom is more than a number in the bank. It's not about money, guys. In my 20s, I had no idea that my money was no longer mine the minute it hit my bank account. Who's really in control? How easy is it for you to access cash in your bank account? What hoops do you have to jump through in order to make a big withdrawal? What restrictions, fees, account minimums, and maximums do you have to maintain? And then I want you to think about your credit products, like your mortgages, loans, credit cards. How hard were they to get? Who's controlling the repayment terms on those? What can be taken away if you miss a payment or two? Freedom is control. It's autonomy, it's sovereignty, it's the ability to access cash when you want it without asking permission. So for me, that financial freedom is about financial independence and the idea that I have cash flowing into my life that I don't have to ask for permission to use. And when I'm talking about building wealth, I'm not talking about just accumulating money in my bank account. I want cash flowing through me so that I can use that cash to take care of not just my needs, but the needs of other people too. I really enjoy being generous. I really enjoy sharing what we have. And I know that all of my clients feel the same way. And so for us, when we're talking about this wealth building, we're talking about wealth sharing as well. Fourth thing I wish we had known back then is that cash is not king. We've all heard that before, right? Cash is king. And when you're comparing it to tapping a debit card, yes, Cash is king because you actually have it in your hand and you don't have to go ask for permission to get it out of the bank account. You've already got it in your hand. I agree with that. Trouble is, our money's being devalued every day, and cash has to be in motion in order for it to grow. We know that's how banks make money, but that's also how we have to use our cash as well. If we just have cash stashed away under a mattress somewhere, it's not going to grow. It's going to be worth less every day than it was the day before. The thing is, you have to think about the risk. When you have money in the bank and it's in investments, the bank is earning whether you win or lose in the market. Even when the market goes down, guess what? Your advisor's still getting a cut. Maybe it's not as high as it would have been if it was up, but they're still getting a cut. They're not losing money. You are the only one losing money in that case. Things like term deposits and GICs, yes, they're safe, but what do they do with that money? They're locked in for a reason because the bank is investing it somewhere else and they are making a cut. So who's really winning in all of these situations? When I talk about cash not being king, cash flow is king. Cash flow, money flowing through you, not stopping at you. You want cash to be coming into your life. You want it to be working for you, and you want to be able to use it for the things that you want and coming right back to you. So, when we're talking about the infinite banking concept, we're talking about using a cycle and keeping your cash constantly in motion, just like what the banks do. Last thing that I wish I had known, and this is a doozy, guys, because it hits so many of us so close to home, is that money is not evil. How many of us grew up thinking that is what the Bible said? So the Bible actually says in First Timothy that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, not the money itself. Money is just a thing. It's no more evil or good than this stapler that's on my desk, right? That stapler is nothing. It's just a thing. Money is the same. Money only has value when we're using it to trade for goods or services. It's not the money that has the value, it's your goods or services that you're trading. Money is just the means that we use to trade those things. I know a lot of us, especially if you grew up in the church, it was almost romanticized that you're holier if you are living in poverty and you give away all of your money and you give everything away and you're just living really below your means. You have monks and religious leaders that take a vow of poverty and they vow to not have anything. But here's the thing, those people depend on someone else to provide for them. Think about that. In his book, Wealth with God, Pastor Jim Baker makes the observation that the poorest way to help the poor is to be poor. And he goes further and he compares giving and blessing other people to water flowing through a hose. The blessings are the water. If you are the hose, there is no way that you can get those blessings out to other people without getting the inside of the hose wet too. By default, you are also receiving some of those blessings. And so the more money that's flowing to you, the more money that can be given away to other people. And so for me personally, I really had to get over the thought of money being bad and money being evil and money being something taboo to talk about because it's not polite to discuss money and you shouldn't discuss money in front of your kids. I discuss money with my kids all the time. In fact, they get really annoyed with me because I'm always talking about how they can put their money to work and how they can make a business out of something. And because I'm so passionate about it and because I want everyone to succeed, and I don't want you to be stuck in that cycle of sitting back and letting life happen and just paying whatever taxes are coming off your paycheck, no questions asked, not even considering making money for yourself and not looking at your own skills. And see, what I want for my clients is for them to start looking at their life like a business owner. I want you to start treating your money like you are a business owner, whether you are or not. Ideally, I would love to see everyone be a business owner because when you have that control and that level of ambition and that level of autonomy where you have the ability to be bringing money into your life and you can scale it up, you can scale it down, and you have the ability to be blessing other people with your own skills and gifts. That's what I want for my clients. I want them to look at their life through that lens of how they can keep their money working for them, how they can make their money work more. If you have money sitting idle in the bank, that is not helping you. Parking money is not helping you. That is losing money. You're losing value every single day. So when we work together, I always like to start with a With a quick discovery call, we look at where you're at now and where you want to be with your life and how you can get there. Then we take a look at your cash flow. We look and see where the money is flowing through your life, where it's flowing through your fingers, and see how we can start recapturing some of that cash. Typically, we start small. If you're a business owner, of course, we can start much bigger inside of a business. If you're heavily in debt, we obviously want to tackle that before we start looking at investments. But if you live off of cash, for example, you are a prime person to be using this kind of concept because when you are paying everything in cash, you're missing out on that growth for the rest of your life. When you can recapture those dollars and keep them working within your own private system, you will be amazed at how supercharged your life can be. So, if you're curious about how the infinite banking concept works, and if you're thinking maybe it's something that you want to learn a little bit more about, I encourage you to click the link below and get access to my free trainings. You'll get some resources, some free videos, and you'll start to learn a little bit more about how the infinite banking concept works. If you've done your research and you are ready to get started, or even if you understand it but you want to know if this is something that's worth pursuing for you, I encourage you to book a free discovery call. We'll sit down, we'll look at your situation, we'll see how we can make your money start working better for you. And if it's a good fit, then we'll start taking the next steps and coming up with a personalized plan. But when you book the call, there's no risk. The only risk is regretting that you didn't do it sooner. Thanks so much for joining. If you found this episode helpful, please give it a like and subscribe. When you're ready to take the next step, click the link in the description to access my free resources and book a call to start. Your future self will thank you. Until next time, live free.